I didn't hear the city at first. I heard my own head. That thin, mosquito-pitch whine I've carried around since I laid my Harley down on North Avenue. Tinnitus, a souvenir the ER doc said would probably fade. It didn't. It tuned itself to the room as soon as I pushed through the security door into night watch. Fluorescents buzzing a half-step sharp, HVAC humming flat, the racks breathing ozone like a dragon. This is what the end of the world sounds like if you're on headset. Not sirens, not screaming, plasticky keys, a smell like warm pennies, and somebody's coffee burning into tar on the hot plate. I badged in too fast and got the angry beep. Try again. The reader thought about it, then flashed green. Above the badge reader, someone had taped a sticky note that said, in a cheerful bubble font that made me want to peel it off with my teeth, Noah, late equals right up. Smiley face drawn like a threat. Not late, I said to nobody. Borderline heroic. The room didn't care. Dispatch never cares. It's 4 rows of consoles in a space that used to be a records office. A color nobody picked on purpose, painted on the walls sometime in the 1990s. Light that makes everyone look like they're running a fever. Out front, the giant CAD wall assumed its own importance. 8 tiled screens cut into quadrants of city grid, Harbor West, Northern, Eastern. Little squares winking where units were, where they should be, and where they'd been 5 minutes before. On the left, a pair of old tape decks sat racked in a glass cabinet like relics from a temple we do not pray in anymore. Salazar, Maritza called without turning. You brought your ears to work, or you brought excuses? Her voice is gravel wrapped in velvet. The gravel's permanent. There's a strip of clear medical tape under her jaw that I try not to stare at when she talks. Rumor says it props a voice amp she doesn't always need. Truth says, Bentnye, Ho Chun. Do not ask if you're not family. I brought my ears, I said, and lifted my lanyard, smaller than my excuses, easier to carry. She slid a battered headset across the console to me with 2 fingers. The foam on the ear cup had a little crescent bite taken out of it, like someone got hungry mid-shift. Clipped under the headband was a yellowed index card, laminated then relaminated. Plastic corners peeling up from years of thumb fidgeting. Courier font, misaligned, old typewriter ink smudges like bruises. I read the top 2 lines, the only ones she lets rookies keep in daylight. Rule number 1. Line 12 hiss, patch K. Tone -12 dBFS 30 seconds. Do not give name. Rule number 2. If caller says your name, read phrase 9. Dispatch cannot confirm identity. The rest of the card wore a thumbprint blur. Red ink circles and a typo that wasn't a typo. Identity with a double N circled twice. Someone had written under it, typo stays, intent beats perfection. Scripture, she said. We don't argue with scripture tonight. Chair squeal, headset on, boom mic against my bottom lip. The earphone sealed. My own breath became weather. The whine in my skull tuned up to the room, and the room tuned back down like 2 pit bands finding each other's key. Before the phones start lying to you, she said, you're going to read that card and pretend it's scripture. I read it, I said. I won't give any names to the devil. That's rule number 8, she said. Don't sass the devil. She leaned past me and pulled the handset off the desk phone. Did a fast dial code I didn't catch, then let the handset hang as if she'd thrown a fish back and was waiting to see if it would flop. Sound check. You're hot on 12. Line 12. The problem child. A copper loop that refuses to retire, routed through a PBX older than my first phone, and the only line in the room that whistles like an empty bottle when no one's blowing across it. Copy, I said. 12 hot. Say copy patch K live when you punch a patch, Maritza said. Saves me from guessing if you're bold or stupid. On the wall, Harbor West blinked. A little red tag said, clock drift, 000009. I told myself that meant nothing. Clocks drift, we correct, the world goes on. A fast drizzle ticked at the window. The kind of rain that makes streets smell like electricity and pennies and rat fur. The room did its breathing trick, and I settled into mine. The call taker at the front row was doing her soft voice with a screamer. "I'm right here with you, ma'am." And the police channel to our right was burbling scanner chatter like soup left too long. I flexed my fingers, shook out my wrists, tried on professionalism like a jacket I hadn't broken in yet. I didn't get to break it in. Line 12 lit like a nerve. The lens over the key went hard orange and held. The hiss bled in through my left cup before the ring fully did. That wrong perfect 440 hertz, tuning fork pitch, a pure A, that made my tinnitus stand at attention like a recruit. "Line 12, Maritza said without looking, like the room had said it through her. "You hear that, rookie?" "I hear it." "What's rule number 1? I didn't trust my mouth yet, so I let my hands answer. I slid the patch K toggle up. The board accepted the press with a rubber dome sigh, and the little green AC LED above it blinked sleepily, not yet awake. "Copy," I said. "Patch K live." Finger to the tone send. I held it down. -12 dBFS. On the tiny software pane at the top corner, because everything is software until it isn't, the thin band of tones swam across a spectrum. Started as a translucent thread. Thickened. In my ear, the hiss pushed back. Resistance, then give, then that satisfying click of a notch biting into what it was made to bite. The FFT waterfall carved a clean canyon at 2.7 kHz. Like a mouth opening and realizing it didn't need to breathe anymore. The green AC LED went steady. On the VU, the hiss fell like somebody had snatched the floor out from under it. Down 42 decibels in 2 seconds. The way you want a lie to drop when you call it a lie. I didn't breathe until the rack relay somewhere behind me did a tiny toaster click. A relic announcing it had done the thing it was born to do. The orange line 12 lamp stayed on. No voice yet, just the tone. And under the tone, what I swear to God was a room 10 miles long exhaling. "Nice," Maritza said. In my peripheral, she was a silhouette with a jawline made of willpower. "We cut its windpipe. Don't let go until 3-0. I've got it." "You don't have it," she said. "We have it, or it has us. Count." 22, 23. The hiss kept trying to lift and the patch kept pinning it like a palm on a chest. My ears' whine joined the tone so perfectly that for half a second I thought I'd hit a wrong button and pressed my skull instead. Sweat crawled out from under the foam cup and made the plastic feel slippery. 29. I eased off at the half-second ramp like we practiced in training, the kind of pretend training where the tape is always clean and nothing smells like burning dust. The tone slid into nothing. The room waited to see if we'd pissed off a god. The orange lamp blinked once like a smirk and went cold. "Copy," I said. My voice came out rougher than I meant. "Patch K complete." "Good boy," Maritza said. And it should have sounded condescending, but it didn't. "You just got a few people, a few minutes of life they wouldn't have had otherwise." It pissed me off that she could say it so even. By pressing a button. "Every church has its sacraments," she said. I let the ear cup off my left ear and the world swelled in. Somewhere down on Pratt Street, a truck downshifted with the shudder you feel in your knees. The fluorescent nearest the back door buzzed like a wasp nest. My coffee tasted like a dare. On the big wall, Harbor West calmed like a fever broken. Unit tags rearranging into the human geometry of a city trying to be good. "You didn't read me your name," Maritza said after a beat. "I'm not an idiot." Is that not the right answer? It's the only answer if you want to keep that voice in your throat. I snorted and instantly wished I hadn't. The sound bounced against the cup and came back at me twice. Who answers with their name into a blind line? Come on. Maritza spun her chair around. I'd seen her laugh before. I'd also seen her look at a screen like it was a grave. This wasn't either. This was the face she made when the baby deer didn't know it was standing in the road. Someone who wants to be believed, she said. Someone who was raised to be polite. Someone who likes the way their name sounds when they're nervous. I reached up to scratch my jaw and hit the mic boom. Bumped it against my tooth. The noise that made in my ear almost tasted like foil. Okay, I said. What if it's a real one on 12? What if there's a person who just can't? If it's real, she said, they'll make it through the tone and we'll get them on another line. If it's not, it will wait for a crack. A tiny square on CAD flashed yellow. Clock drift 000012. I told myself again it meant nothing. 12 seconds is nothing. I've been 12 seconds late my entire life. Why 12? I asked to say something that wasn't about my name. Drift, that specific? You'll learn to hear it, she said, not actually answering. She tapped a note into her field on my screen. Salazar, training paragraph 1 complete. There's an ear the city gives you if you don't fight it. Threshold 217 isn't a clock time, she added, finally throwing me a bone. It's the allowed drift between the CAD and the master clock. If it hits 217 and you haven't pulled the rack, the overlay will expand on its own. The city, I said, because apparently tonight I was saying dumb things out loud. You say it like a person. You'll say it that way by the weekend, she said. If you make it to the weekend. I might have said something brave. I might have gone for a joke, but the room decided for me. Line 12 flashed back on like a dare. The hiss didn't start this time. It just went straight to ring. 3 tight chirps and a hold. Like someone tapping a microphone at a funeral. I didn't need prompting. Patch K up. Copy patch K live. Tone sent. View riffling. Nothing to cut, nothing to notch. Ack blipped green anyway like a dog wagging at a shadow. Interesting, Maritza said. I kept my thumb on the tone and tried not to think about the way my heart had started keeping time with the rack fan. The orange lamp didn't blink. It waited, patient as a tide. Okay, I said into the room, not into the line. Stage fright. Watch your ox, Maritza murmured. You're bleeding into record. Noted. 28, 29, half-second taper. The second the tone fell out, I got a breath in my ear that wasn't mine. Dispatch? A woman's voice said. My stove's on fire on Lawrence Street and I can't. Hello? Hello. The hiss came with it. Softer now, like someone had folded a blanket over the speaker. My tongue put copper in my mouth. The urge to say ma'am or hi, this is Noah with, came up my throat like a cough. Rule number 2 threw itself in front of it with both arms. If they say your name, read phrase number 9. She hadn't said my name. Not yet. But I heard my name hiding behind the next inhale, the same way you hear thunder hiding behind the polite rain. Dispatch, I said, flat as I could make it, state your emergency. My stove, she said again, and there was a note under it like a second singer in a church who never learned harmony. It keeps turning itself back on. What's your location? I said. Cross street? Silence like teeth. Then, Noah? The ear cup became a hand pressing into my head. The wine in my skull spiked so hard my right eye watered. Everything in me wanted to be human and say, yes, that's me, I'm here. Dispatch cannot confirm identity, I read, and the words went out sounding like they were falling down a stairwell. The line didn't drop. She sighed. I swear I heard the sigh fog glass. Okay, she said. Okay, I get it. Behind the voice, the hiss stepped up exactly a half step, like someone turned a dial. The FFT cut a notch at 2.7 kilohertz by itself. My thumb went to the patch, found it already engaged, weak green, and I realized I'd been holding it without knowing my finger had decided before I did. Ma'am, I said, confirm address. She didn't answer. She matched the tone I was sending with a hum so perfect it hurt, and then the line politely, gently, placed itself back on its hook. I let go of the patch. My hand stayed frozen like that for 3 seconds, the shape of a chord without strings to press. Phrase number 9, Maritza said. Good. Was that? Don't finish questions you don't want answers to. I thought we liked answers in this building. We like the right ones. I shook out the hand I'd been strangling the console with, and my knuckles popped, 4 tiny firecrackers inside meat. Was that real? It was as real as it needed to be. That's not a thing. It's our thing, she said. You want coffee that tastes like pennies, or you want to pretend you're the kind of man who can drink it black? Pennies, please. She slid her mug over. It was a novelty cup that said, "Don't talk to me, talk to 911. The handle was cracked and epoxied in a way that told a story if I ever got brave enough to ask. I took a sip and gagged and said, "It's perfect," and her mouth did that almost smile she saves for people who don't yet make her tired. On the wall, the little yellow tag marched from 000012 to 00013 like a child you don't want to watch. The first shudder ran through the room, too delicate to label as a shudder unless you've sat where we sit. The feeling you get when a call is a second away and the air does its trick of getting thinner on purpose. "Look up," Maritza said as if she'd heard my thought. "Harbor, left quadrant. See it?" I saw it. A ghostly amber overlay feathered across the grid and was gone, like someone briefly remembered a different city on top of ours. "What's that?" "Nothing," she said. "Not yet." The headset creaked when I turned my head, the cheap plastic making its own complaint. I adjusted the boom so it barely ghosted my lip. On my console, an unobtrusive white status line turned orange. Clock drift 0000120014. The arrow felt personal. The arrow felt like it was pointing at me. "Maritza?" "Huh. What happens at 2:17? She didn't answer. She reached past my shoulder, and with 2 fingernails, she straightened the rule card where I'd pushed it crooked. Her thumb tapped the laminate right where a line I wasn't allowed to see sat like a dare. "Read your scripture, Salazar," she said. I looked back at the wall. I smelled warm dust and the ghost of someone's cologne from a shift ago, something herbal and cheap and human. The rain leaned in against the windows with city patience. The orange status line blinked once, and the CAD banner at the top chimed a soft, neutral tone I'd heard in training videos, but never in the wild. The kind of tone someone chose because panic is contagious and you don't want to be the one who sneezes first. Clock drift 000012000015. Under it, a new line bloomed like a bruise. Harbor West, overlay risk. The hairs on my forearms lifted like they wanted to listen. I flexed my fingers above the keys. The headset pressed 2 perfect circles of warmth around my ears. Somewhere in the building, a relay clicked, like a light trying to make up its mind. Line 12, patient as a heartbeat, lit its orange eye again. Line 12 didn't ring so much as bloom. The orange lens went full sunrise and held, and I felt the whine in my ear line up with it like a tuning fork kissing bone. "Copy," I told my hands before my mouth. "Patch K up, thumb on tone. Patch K live." The board gave me that rubber dome sigh. The spectrum pane rippled, my little digital fish tank of color, then cinched as the tone took. I watched the waterfall carve its canyon right where it cooperates when the world does. A clean notch at 2.7 kilohertz, like somebody cut a window into static. The green AC LED blinked once, thought it through, and held. But the hiss didn't fight me this time. No wrestling, no satisfying drop, just a listening. The line felt like a throat you've pressed back with 2 fingers, and it's waiting to see if you'll let it swallow. "Count," Maritza said, which I'd started to hear as a prayer. 23. 24. The air had the warm dust tang of a radiator waking up. Rain ticked the windows like fingers drumming time. At 29.5 I eased. The tone fell with the SOP's half-second taper. The room did its held breath routine. Half the job is pretending you believe in the right magic. The click that came after wasn't the toaster relay in the rack. It was the line clicking its tongue at me. "Fine, have it your way," and then the voice. Dispatch. Just that. Neutral, except nothing here stays neutral if you listen long enough. There was a burr in it, a sand grit where most calls come in glassy. The FFT confirmed what my bones already knew. A thinner-than-thin absence scissored out of the high end. Cheap radio with the treble rolled off. Formant notch at 2.7 singing hello. State your emergency, I said, trying to keep a spine and not a throat full of bees. Fire on Lawrence, the voice said, then softer. Noah. My mouth did a stupid thing, opened, and my thumb did the smart one. I slid the tone back on mid-word, jamming a door with my foot before the dog gets out. Copy, I said, because if I didn't talk I'd think, and thinking is when the room grows teeth. Patch K live. Ack flickered, then steadied. The VU pixels pretended to be needles at a tidy -12 dBFS. The hiss, what little there was, took another polite step back. On the CAD wall, Harbor West breathed, boxes pulsing as units swapped cross streets like chess pieces. You can't keep the heat out, the voice murmured, my tone pressing it flat, like we were singing through each other. I've tried. I didn't lower the patch. I didn't raise my voice. I read the sentence printed on my card until it felt like a bone. Dispatch cannot confirm identity. Anger from strangers arrives in parts. Breath, words, slam. This wasn't anger. This was recognition pretending to be a favor. All right, the voice said. We'll use other names. My ear fizzed. Tinnitus inched up half a step like someone spun a click wheel. In the right cup, a high thread rose out of the static, braided into the hiss. You feel your own name in your throat even when it isn't you speaking. I felt mine crawl up and I held phrase number 9 like a life ring. Ma'am, I said, what cross street on Lawrence? Are you? Don't be unkind, she said, not chastising, almost smiling. You know where it is. Maritza set her palm on the corner of my console. Not heavy, just there. The touch you use on a dog deciding whether to bite. Location, I repeated. Script leaves less room for anything else to sneak in. Cross Street. Mulberry, she said. That street exists. My map brain pulled the grid up behind my eyes. Lawrence at Mulberry is row houses and little corner stores that sell cheap incense and better gossip. I could smell fried oil getting old. Rain through a vent that doesn't lead anywhere. Is anyone inside? I asked. You are, she said. Right where you've always been. The ack pulsed green, slow. The hiss hovered, patient, as if it had all the time in the world. My thumb had gone numb on the patch. I thought about switching thumbs and felt stupid for thinking anything that boring while the room watched. Dispatch cannot confirm identity, I read again, softer. Stay on the line. I've been on the line, she said. Pause. The kind before a name if they like how it makes you stand up. No. I dropped the patch like a trap so I could shove mine in first, solid as a doorstop. Dispatch cannot confirm identity. The breath slipped out warm and disappointed, a smile in reverse. I watched the spectrum like a man watching a spider on the ceiling. The notch held. The tone kept the other tone from wrapping around my throat. Behind the glass, a unit tag on Harbor West jittered a block east. My stomach did a similar trick. You won't always have that button, she said, absent. It gets tired. We all get tired. My thumb did not. What's burning? I said, carpenter speculative. Do you see flame? Smoke? Can you get outside? She hummed. Nothing. Then too much. My hearing narrowed. The hum braided my ears whine until I wasn't sure which was me. The hiss came back up like a tide gathering itself. Copy, I heard myself say to nobody. Patch K still live. Now, she said. And there it was. The thing with teeth behind neutral tone. The ache and name leaves in the air before it arrives. Now, dispatch cannot. The script snagged, I swallowed. Confirm identity. Then I'll call you something else, she said, less patient. Son, baby, kid. My thumb shook. Small secret. Maritza didn't move. She let me fail or not fail with my own hands. Dispatch, I said, and made it sound like a wall. Location. Silence. Not dead. Thinking. The kind the room uses when it wants you to notice your own blood. Laurens and Laurens, she said at last, shrugging. Everywhere and nowhere. And then the line did that delicate thing I hate, hung up so gently the click felt like a kiss from a stranger you accidentally smiled at. The orange lens went dim. Ack relaxed to black. I took my thumb off the patch and found my jaw aching from clench. The rubberized keycaps printed little pancakes in my skin. Maritza withdrew her hand like she'd held the console down for a seance, and we'd chosen not to invite anyone. She studied me, measuring whether I'd passed or where to tuck the sheet. Phrase number 9, she said. Yeah. Good, she said. Laurens. She did. That's a real cross street. So is Bethlehem, she said. We don't dispatch to theology. She called me. Don't finish the sentence, she said. Same breath. You did good. Praise landed like a note slid under a door. I wanted to crack a joke. I also wanted to put my head between my knees until my ear stopped behaving like it belonged to the city. You want the room to like you. It doesn't. It's built for throughput. Still, I glanced at the CAD like a kid checks a scoreboard. Harbor steadied. Western pulsed a slow, indifferent pulse. Eastern went half quiet the way it does when the rain keeps the board inside. The banner put on its polite cough. Harbor West, overlay risk. Under it, drift ticked one more second. 000015. See? Maritza said, so soft I could pretend I imagined it. You're already learning to hear it. Hear what? I said, though my ear had started to answer. When the city gets interested. You keep saying it like it's a person, I said, because if I let the room make metaphors inside me, I wasn't getting to midnight. Maritza grabbed my mug, sipped, made a battery face. Tell me again you're not late, she said. I need a pretty lie. I'm not late. Prettier. I'm 13 seconds early, she snorted, more breath than voice. Then why's the wall saying different? On the banner, clock drift, 000015, 000016. I can fix it, I said. I had no idea what I meant. You can do one thing, she said. You cannot make it worse. Line 12 stayed dark for a breath, and then, patient as a heartbeat, lit its orange eye again. I swear to God, I said, and set my thumb on the patch like a man setting a ring on a table to keep from losing it. Careful with that, Maritza said, without warmth or judgment. It belongs to you right now. Copy, I said. Patch K live. Tone up. Ack watched me like a cat. The FFT notch snapped into place so neatly I wanted to applaud. The hiss did its backwards inhale. It's raining, the voice said this time. And if you'd pressed a gun to my head and asked if it was the same voice, I'd have told you I didn't know and meant it. The burr, the patience, that tube radio flattening, old sermon trouble. Do you like the rain? Dispatch cannot confirm identity, I said. My heart was making friends with the rubber of the patch KT. You liked it enough to get home late, she said. Liked it enough to smell it in your hair and blame it for everything else. My hands moved before my head. I lowered the patch to ask for location and my mouth went to script. The two hit each other in the doorway, tone falling as words tried to pass, and in that half-inch of space, the voice slid my name across like a tip at a bar. Noah. It didn't feel like sound. It felt like missing the last step on stairs you've walked 1,000 times. My ear rang bright white, cleaner than pain. Silver freckled the edge of my vision. Dispatch cannot confirm identity, I said, and the words felt ragged. Better, she said. It'll get harder. Location. Home, she said, like searching for the word. Laurens, Mulberry, everywhere the stove never turns off. The tone had fallen. I didn't remember deciding to let it. My thumb ached like I'd been hanging from a ledge. I slid patch K back up. Ack flirted, then committed. The notch sharpened. The hiss went thin. I'll see you at 2, she said. 2 what? You'll see. Then, like a party trick, the line hung up without a sound. I heard my own breath again, big and dumb. I hadn't realized I'd pushed back from the console until my chair squealed. The room looked the same as 5 minutes ago. That's the meaner joke it knows. How unchanged everything stays while your insides learn new math. Phrase number 9, Maritza said, ritual dry. She watched Harbor, the way you watch a dog staring too hard at a couch cushion. She keeps... I started. She is generous, Maritza said. Okay, I said, it keeps... better. What happens at 2? You have a rule card. This isn't a study group, I said. I wanted it light, it thudded. Then learn by doing, she said. Maybe your head will listen better than your mouth. On the banner, the bruise-colored line deepened. Harbor West. Overlay risk. Drift ticked 000016, 000017. A map square flickered amber, and for a strobe heartbeat, a different street grid showed under ours. Slanted, older, row houses that remembered a fire nobody in them had ever seen. The hairs on my forearms didn't lie back down. Count to 60, Maritza said, almost kind. If you get to 217, we have a different conversation. 217 equals allowable deviation between CAD and the reference clock. If it exceeds this threshold without intervention, the overlay will expand automatically. And if I don't, you'll still have a conversation, she said. It just won't be with me. I put my thumb back on the patch, like resting a knife before deciding which finger you're willing to lose. Line 12 stayed dark, like it was giving me time to think. The room went on being itself. Cheap light, old coffee, rain on glass, a dragon of ozone from the rack. In the upper left, CAD chimed the soft training tone, the kind they chose so nobody would panic. Harbor West, overlay risk shifted from amber to red. The bruise on the banner went from warning to promise. Harbor West, overlay risk deepened red, and drift ticked 00, 16, 00, 17, like a metronome only my ear could hear. Count to 60, Maritza said again, and I realized she didn't mean seconds. She meant, count the things you can let happen before you break a rule. I kept my thumb parked on patch K anyway, like superstition is a skill. The room inhaled. You can feel it when it does. The racks warm one notch. The HVAC changes allegiance. The fluorescents thicken. Dust and copper sat on my tongue. CAD chimed the soft training tone, and the wall did the magic trick I hate. 2 Baltimores at once. Our grid with its right angles and wrong decisions. Under it, a slanted older map with streets that knew horses and who burned. The amber overlay feathered across Harbor West and settled into a half-opaque veil. Unit tags flickered like fireflies underwater. ETA numbers hopped by half minutes until you realized you'd lost 4 of them. 621, 703, 814. Pull it, Maritza said, quiet. Rule number 3. CAD drift, Tro 217, pull rack C for 60 seconds. 217, allowable deviation between CAD and the reference clock. If it exceeds this threshold without intervention, the overlay will expand automatically. Not yet, I said. Because somewhere in my skull I still believed I could save face and save lives and keep a clean shirt. Salazar. I've got a domestic in progress on Pratt, units committed. If I pull, I lose both recordings for a minute and a half, and the audio log on. Overlay eats recordings anyway, she said. Duplicates the wrong ones and calls it help. Just one more second. She didn't raise her voice. She let the room do it. Clock drift. 0017, 0018. Harbor West, overlay active 90s, active. A 90-second countdown appeared, white digits chewing the corner, while ETAs kept hopping plus 4 minutes and counting. The amber wash brightened to old varnish. Tag IDs dragged like puppets from another ceiling. Wrong street names bled through ours, Gay where it doesn't belong, Exeter where it never went. On the police side channel, a saw blade hit a knot. Unit 462, say again your location, repeat, say again. Static swarmed, corrected into something that shouldn't exist, a call ID prefix we retired 6 years ago. The hair on my neck did the caterpillar crawl. The small latency readout on my console confessed, ANI delay 127 mess, checksum tail XYX, FFT notch smiling at 2.7 kHz. 10 had a foothold. Pull it, Maritza said, no softness now. I stood, useless, but men stand when they want control. I rounded the console. My thigh knocked the drawer of chapstick and oatmeal packets that taste like hot wallpaper. The rack glass breathed hot plastic when I opened it. Rack C sat like a spine. 1,000 tiny lights blinked aphasia. Shh, 60 seconds, Maritza said. Fingers on the pull tabs. Breaking something on purpose wakes every place you learn not to. As a kid, I counted how many times the pastor said, just. I stopped when I realized I was doing math on what people needed not to be math. Standing over Rack C felt like that again. Do it, she said, a tear of sound in her gravel that made it easier to move. I pulled. Rack C unplugged with the intimacy of a tooth leaving a mouth. Hot dust blew out. In my ear, the world did an ugly hollowing, the dropout that makes you think you've gone deaf. The CAD wall blinked to black and back. A clock at the top began counting down from 60 in cold white digits. Pulling, I confirmed. My throat made it a confession. For a second, I believed I could fix anything with 59 seconds and a decent apology. Then the overlay flexed. 3 versions of one unit popped in 3 places as if mirrors disagreed. ETA plus 4 minutes stamped red like a teacher's mark. On the police side, the scanner burbled a taste of Penny's code the first time you learn it, and it never gets better. 10-7. Out of service. Wrong place, wrong time, wrong world. Talk to me, Maritza said. Triple ghosting on Medic 12, I said. Dispatch path switching between Western and Harbor. CAD is reconciling old grid with current. Units requesting repeats. I'm hearing retired prefixes from the analog trunk. Harbor only? I checked. East clean, northern clean. A mercy that felt like a lie. Harbor west only. Cluster contained. Good. Not my word. It means we built one thing right, she said. Keep calling live calls, let the ghosts talk to walls. I wanted to apologize to a woman I couldn't hear, who was about to wait 4 more minutes because I wanted to be a hero long enough to delay a rule printed on an index card. The Rack C countdown figured itself loudly behind my teeth. Eastern, domestic in progress at Pratt and Albemarle, no injuries, third-party logging off. Copy, I said. Keep me posted. In my left cup, the one things with old names like the hum came back thin as floss. No ring, no hiss to crush, just the weak shape of a sentence not yet spoken. Noah, it breathed, and I felt it with my tongue like a burn. I found the line without looking and read it like signing for a package. Dispatch cannot confirm identity. A beat. The wall reassembled to, not worse. ETAs settled. 8:14-7:42. Still late, but not like a building falling in reverse. Overlay active, 90 seconds, kissed 0 seconds. The banner wrote relief without hiding it. Overlay cleared, 0 seconds. Rack C chirped a small beep like a microwave telling you your dinner is sad, and the countdown hit 0. The amber veil thinned to sugar water. The wrong street grid misted out. Harbor West recalculated itself around the present tense. I reseated the rack with a push, like apologizing to a door you slammed. The world clicked, tiny relays making one sound, and the HVAC remembered it worked for us. Back at the console, my headset picked up the ghost of my breath and sent it back. I slid in, shoved my chair with my knee, let my hands remember where they live. Overlay down, I said. Harbor stabilizing. ETA plus 4 minutes on Medic 12 remains. I'll call the scene to hold. Good, Maritza said. The underjaw tape lifted a fraction, like a secret smile. Clock drift, I asked, because hope never learns. The drift line stalled. 000018 sat there like a dare. Under it, Harbor West overlay cleared 0 seconds. The tension leaving your shoulders after 90 seconds like that isn't relief, it's least space up for renewal. Nerves unclenched in small pops. Hot plastic retreated. My thighs remembered the chair. An itch under my wristband I couldn't reach without looking like a monkey. Mouth okay? Maritza asked. My mouth? You've been chewing the boom. I pulled the mic away and saw the crescent teeth marks, a shy moon. Embarrassing. Necessary. Quiet tried to become funny. Coffee was a joke again. Fluorescent hum did stand-up. Rain did slapstick. I almost laughed at 10-7 because otherwise I'd put my head through a wall. I checked the live queue like it could absolve me for delaying a rule. It never does. Noise filled the overlay's shape. Real noise. A woman in Canton worried her husband would come home drunk. A kid in Reservoir Hill whispered from a closet. Not ghosts. The work. On my console, a small box I don't like blinked awake. Sup bus ping, 17? I stared at it the way you look at a dog that just growled with its eyes. Did you see that? I said. Maritza, who hasn't stopped seeing since the day they sat her here, breathed a sound with no vowels. Don't answer. It's just a ping, I said. Probably test traffic from an old macro. You want advice or want to find out how much blood lives in your shoes? I just mean. Rule number 4, rookie. If anybody asks for engine 17, you put them on hold C until they forget they called. You do not locate. You do not humor. You do not say its name, cute like a ghost story. Say it and it makes itself real to get the respect it thinks it deserves. A new polite chime. The banner nudged, clock drift 000018000019. I curled my fingers under the desk and felt the rubber print a grid in my palm. The city hadn't lost interest, it had changed tactics. Okay, I said to my hands. Okay. Say it. Rule number 4. I read the laminate instead of my pride. Engine 17 asked, hold C. Do not locate. Maritza gave the barest nod. Under the tape, a tendon hopped. I had the stupid thought the tape looked new. Someone had stood here and stuck it on for her with 2 steady fingers. On the wall, harbor returned to being itself. Red squares brightened and dimmed. Chevrons pivoted through rain. The overlay left like a story half told. Line 12 stayed dark and patient, a cat pretending to sleep. The ping didn't go away. It blinked, waited, then printed a quiet heresy. ENG 17 standby? Behind that, so soft I could have blamed my skull if I wanted the easy way out, I heard my mother's voice whisper where breath lives. Noah, don't locate. The ping sat there like a dare. 17 standby? My thumb hovered over hold C, the way you hover over send on something you'll regret by lunch. The laminate edge of the rule card bit my wrist under the watchband. Rule number 4 glared up without eyes. Engine 17 asked, hold C. Do not locate. The whisper threaded the foam of my cup, my mother from a decade and a city away. Noah, don't locate. Say it back, Maritza said, still watching the wall. Rule number 4, I said, hold C, do not locate. Good. I meant to hit hold C, I did. Somewhere between intent and plastic, my other hand twitched the trackball and the cursor kissed locate like a bad habit. A dot bloomed on Harbor West, wrong hue, wrong transparency, the off-brand amber that looks counterfeit even before the pen hits. It chose Edmondson Ave, a block and a half east of where my gut swears the department keeps its shame. Salazar. Maritza didn't raise her voice. She lowered the ceiling. What did you just do? Tested something. We don't test ghosts, she said. They test us. On the wall, the counterfeit dot didn't pulse or ask permission. It replicated. A dispatch path drew itself through streets like water through hairline cracks. From West Side House, retired, to Edmondson Ave, Strickerstain. CAD printed a polite treasonous suggestion. Pre-alert, Eng 17. Truck 23? We don't have a 17, I told the screen. My ear rang the way metal does when you kick it and pretend you meant to. Fire coughed awake with a voice I'd never heard and had always been afraid of. Old radio, wet hallway, static with a cigarette. Dispatch, Engine 17 responding. You are not, I said and heard how young I am. Say again? A present tense officer cut in, crisp, already annoyed. Who's on that pre-alert? My board shows a reserve not in service. I stand by. Disregard. I grabbed hold C too late, catching glass mid-shatter. The counterfeit path didn't care. It laid a yellow line over a city that doesn't have a lane for it. In the corner, ETAs began their idiot hop. 622, 658, 741. The unit near Pratt pivoted, rerouting around an instruction that smelled older than me. The domestic I'd been nursing whispered off my cue like it had decided to raise itself. Box alarm? The scanner said, calm as a man ordering breakfast. Box alarm struck, Edmondson and Stricker, all companies. CAD spat teeth, ETA plus 3 minutes 42 seconds. Fireground 1 red 2 yellow. Route correction denied, first submit. Maritza, I said, and my ear filled with a tall white sound, my injury tuning a half-step bright like a violin warming for a symphony of bad decisions. She didn't look at me. Her left hand pinched, then smoothed, the strip of tape under her jaw where the voice amp lives. A tendon hopped under skin. You owe me one thumb, she said. Pick the one you can live without. I can fix it. That lie fits every mouth. You can stop making it worse. The wall decided to be literal. Edmondson Ave went from pretending to remembering. A camera feed we don't own hiccuped into a quarter tile. Sodium sepia, rain cross-hatching the lens. Interop archive bus can surface municipal and legacy feeds when the overlay leans hard enough. The city borrows from itself. The empty block did not burn yet, but it held quiet like practice. On my console, the pre-alert mutated into CYA, advise company, possible malfunction, historical data. I mashed advise because bureaucracy is a bandage if you wrap it fast. Dispatch to all companies, I said, honest for one clause only. Disregard any pre-alert for engine 17. Reserve is not in service. Do not say it again, Maritza said. She reached and with one gentle tap, booping a toddler, hit mute station on my mic. You're feeding it. I dragged my hand back like I'd touched a stove. The word stove arrived with its echo. Lawrence, Mulberry, that voice that wears other voices like coats, and then the present shoved a gloved hand into my chest. Battalion 3 on the air, a real voice said. Be advised, we've got multiple 911 calls for smoke in the area of Edmondson and Stricker. Smells like wind in the mic. Electrical. Witness says a light in the warehouse flickered on and off, then nothing. The counterfeit dot brightened, pleased to be seen. My stomach went winter at the edges. Copy, I said too fast. I wanted to say I didn't mean it. I wanted a time machine I could run with a 60-second pull on a rack halfway in a room. Battalion 3. I tried again on the correct talk group, be advised. Possible historical data contamination at that location. Recommend holding perimeter, confirm smoke source before entry. Dispatch, the chief said, folksy flattening into iron. If it's smoke, we don't hold. The camera tile, because the city loves theater, showed the light inside flutter again, settle on a heart rate, and then a black tongue of smoke slide under the door seam like something remembering how to crawl. Rain did what rain does, made everything smell cleaner and dirtier at once. Ozone rode our vents, metallic and too sweet. My tinnitus hit bell metal and held. Box alarm confirmed. A laugh tried my throat and died there. It wasn't funny. It was the sound you make when you hear the punchline early. Dispatch, truck 23, wind in the mic. On Edmondson, approaching Stricker, visibility okay, will advise. The camera caught their lights mirrored in the black sheen of the warehouse door right before it bellied. Heat swelled steel. It burped flame and steadied, working fire. Copy, I said, suddenly 80. In my left cup the old thing hummed one bright note through my ring, pleased as a cat. Maritza finally turned her head. Not angry, not triumphant, just someone cataloging debts. Her fingers curled on my console edge until they went white. You keep never saying it again, she said, not even in your head. Too late, I said small. She nudged the amp a millimeter, pressed the tape flat, small, surgical, vow-shaped. On the wall, ETAs stabilized into the sort of reality that still gets funerals. The counterfeit dot remained because the city is pettier than God. Companies lined like courage. I made myself do the job I might not deserve. Dispatch to all companies, I said, steady as a stone in a pocket. Be advised. Live electrical suspected. Establish 2 lines, wider collapse zone. Medic 12, upgrade staging. Copy? Copy, came back, plural, heavy. The vents carried a new note. Not ozone. Rubber, sour bitter curl like a belt snapping in a machine you can't replace. Sweat found the notch up my throat and made itself at home. The cup warmed, sealing me to the moment like a lid. Look at me, Maritza said. I did. Her pupils were steady as floor joists. Say it. What? What you owe? I swallowed ash. I owe a life. She nodded, the tape catching light. Good. Write it down later. If you sit here long enough, you'll have a list. It helps to know where the weight came from. On the wall, a roofline squatted low in rain and waved in a way a roof shouldn't. Someone on scene swore and forgot to unkey. We all heard it and didn't pretend. The scanner said, collapse potential, calm and mercenary. The ping that started this, Ang, 17 standby, had flashed en route when I wasn't looking, and then on scene, just to prove it could keep minutes. I stared until the letters stood up and walked around. I didn't say it out loud. I didn't finish it in my head. It didn't matter. The room knew. It always does. Maritza adjusted the tape one more time, thumb pressing the edge until it obeyed. When she spoke, the gravel was back and the velvet gone. You owe another life, she said, and it wasn't punishment. It was bookkeeping. The words on my screen sat like a verdict and slid off into other business. The warehouse worked. The city did what it always does, pretended what's on fire is one address and not a principle. I made myself breathe and found out I'd been doing it shallow, like the room might invoice me for oxygen. The ear cups kept my own warmth penned in. Ozone rode the vents, sweet, metallic, battery tongue. Maritza's tape caught light each time she swallowed. Somewhere, a drip off the HVAC pan rang a tiny bell. When the clocks hit 3:13, they didn't tick, they posed. Every little timekeeper on the wall, on our screens, on the consoles froze the same way. Colon bright, number stunned. 3:13 held itself like a breath I wasn't allowed to take. Don't, Maritza said, not to me, to the room. We've eaten enough tonight. The CAD banner put on its Thai voice and dinged the kind of ding somebody made vanilla on purpose. Archive access, auto. Below it a ribbon slid, request playback 1996-0612 batch harbor voice reel B. Training lives in Knuckles, archive playback less than 12 seconds. 3 knocks equals silence. Mercy is timing, not context. The switch, Maritza said, finger on it. Don't get precious. The tape jewel on the rack bloomed an unhealthy amber, like honey under a bruise. The cabinet glass fogged, cleared. Inside, the right reel. The thing I have no business trusting in a building full of silicon, twitched. The air around it moved like shy people in an elevator. Who requested it? I asked. You did, the room implied. Playback didn't start with hiss. It started with a room sound that knew exactly where to put its hands on my ears. Thin air through thin wire. My scalp went cold. The VU bars, 2 candy red-capped columns meant to reassure, jittered left, right, left, like the tape was already a conversation. Then the voice. 911, what's the address of your emergency? Every call taker gets trained to flatten their accent into something you can put in a manual. The woman on the tape didn't. She held Baltimore in the back of her throat like a secret she didn't mind you seeing. She didn't sound like my mother until she did, and then there was no like in it at all. It was her. Younger, vowels rounder. Patience more given than earned. Ma'am, tape younger, her said. Hello? Hair lifted on my forearms, my ears whined spiked into a clean A and held, church note, hidden in factory air. Tape stayed amber. The VU did its stutter dance. The colon on 313 refused to blink. I set my finger on sill 08 and didn't press. Fire, the caller whispered. Distance, hallway. A cupped hand over a mouthpiece trying to smuggle the word past a sleeping house. On Lauren's. Okay, my mother said. 29 and tired. Cross street? Mulberry. Somewhere in me a door I'd bricked over flexed its hinge. I remembered the smell of her hair after doubles, product and sweat and a note like copier toner. I remembered the little pad next to the rotary in our kitchen, how she printed letters when she was trying to be professional at home. Is the stove on? Tape Mom asked, because 1,000 fires start stupid. Do you see flame? Not yet, the whisper said. It keeps turning on, then off. The view did a trick I hate. Froze at -60 BFS for a blink, then jittered again. The rack breathed harder. The tape's amber brightened a shade, thought better of it, dimmed. Time, Maritza reminded the room. The tape timer read 8.3 seconds. I got ready to cut at 12.0 seconds, whether my body wanted to listen to my head or not. Ma'am, my mother said, younger and braver than I'd given her, I need your apartment number. 3rd floor, the whisper said. Back. It's hot in the walls. Okay. Stay on the knock, not on the tape, on the cabinet glass or the air outside my ear, I can't tell which. Gentle. 3 even taps a person could talk themselves out of hearing. I didn't. 3, I said. Sand on my tongue. Knock, I cut tape. Silence rocked the room for half a second like a ship. Tape amber fell to black. The VU bars dropped flat as if someone erased that part of the world. I kept my finger on the switch because men close an elevator door once and wait like the building owes them a second apology. The clock stayed 3:13 like a kid holding breath to pass out. The banner didn't move. Rain found a seam in the gasket. A wet ribbon crawled the sill. Good, Maritza said. Her voice broke on the D, like it had to pass through something first. You learned when to be rude. My hand shook, not dramatic, the kind that makes rings click a console if you wear rings. I don't, but I heard them anyway. It was her, I said, useless and true. Maritza didn't tell me it wasn't. She didn't tell me it was. She set her palm on the desk near mine, contact adjacent. The room keeps what it can use, she said. Some voices are easier to keep than others. Because they don't finish right, I said, too smart and hurting. She didn't flinch, because they were good at their jobs. I cut her off. You didn't cut her off, she said. You cut it off. If you'd let it run, it would have chewed our bridges to get a better seat. I wanted to argue. I didn't. Argument tasted like burned plastic. The banner woke in its polite shoes again. Archive access denied. Under it, the room, whatever name you pin to the thing that remembers, wrote a new sentence in a font I don't trust. Hearing required. 7 names before sunrise. The word sat like a summons, then scrolled into the log like weather. I told the air. No. This is where most rookies break, Maritza said. Not to frighten, not to soothe. It's a ceremony wrapped around a procedure. It loves being called a ceremony. It respects being called a procedure. What happens if I don't? Bottom half of me went to water. It takes the supervisor bus, she said. Every signal that makes this room what it is. You'll still pick up phones. You just won't like what answers. Can I choose not? Sometimes you get to choose what kind of priest you are, she said. You don't get to choose whether the sacrament exists. The clock unclenched and slid to 3:14 like a throat swallowing. All the little digital lives followed. The tape light went from dead to nothing. The air lost that charged pre-storm feel. Noise returned in human ways. Somebody in Eastern coughed and didn't mute. A chair squealed. A phone piped a pop song syllable and remembered vibrate. The callboard hiccuped a new line like a nervous laugh. Unit, sup bus, status idle. Before sunrise, I said, how long? Maritza eyed the map, then the timestamp in the corner, 3:14:22. Rain kept time on the glass. Couple hours, she said. Plenty if you don't get fancy. What are the names? You don't pick, she said. You'll know when they want to be read. You say the name and a case number. You close with a tone. Do not ad-lib. Do not please it. Do not apologize. What if I say one wrong? Then it learns something true about you, she said. Don't give it that. I wanted a joke about how late I am to everything, how the city likes me better when I'm slow. The joke hit hot rubber and died. The rack sighed, a relay ticked. The tape glass breathed condensation and wrote a word with its own breath. That evaporated before I could read it. In my left ear, the mailbox old voices use, the hum came back thin as fever. A whisper climbed it like ivy finding brick. Noah. Phrase 9, I told myself, laying brick as I spoke. Dispatch cannot confirm identity. You cut her off, the whisper said, not angry, not anything. We were talking. We have a 12-second policy, I said, because that sounds less insane than I don't like what you turned me into. 12 seconds is all you get. You get more, it said. You get hours. Different job, I said. Different door. It's the same job. The VU bars lifted independently like two hands raising a question. The numbers slid to -6, paused, shivered. Somewhere 100 feet of cable remembered men pulling it through conduit with rope and grease. I could smell the grease. I could smell men who aren't alive dragging wire across a floor that isn't there. You said 7, I said, to the log, the whisper, the city. 7 names. We did, the voice said, plural when it wants to feel large. Before sunrise, yes. What if I don't? We will run the supervisor bus, it said, not unkind. It will be very quiet in here, and then very loud. Give me the names, I said, mad enough at my own mouth to like it. Give me the names and the case numbers and I'll read them like you want them read. We will give you the names we keep, it said. You will find the numbers. That is what you are for. Maritza's fingers drummed once, stopped like she'd punished herself. You find them in the living logs, she said. Missing persons. Old job cards. It won't hide them. It wants this done. Why? Because it believes in a tidy ledger, she said, and because if it convinces you it can be appeased, it gets to keep playing. We are right here, the voice said, offended at being left out. I rolled my neck. It sounded like brittle wood. We're doing this my way, I told it. Names, numbers, tone. No flourishes. It likes flourishes, it observed. It can marry a poet. Maritza's laugh was one breath and tasted like old coffee. You're getting cocky, she said. That'll save you or hang you. Supbus winked to listen for a breath, back to idle, testing my spike and drop. Sweat slicked my elbow crease. The headset itched where the seam met my scalp. I wanted to pour my skull out and start fresh. I didn't. Time, Maritza said again, gentler. Okay, I said. Okay. The room, the ledger, the city, whatever name you stitch in, exhaled a list so quietly I could have claimed I made it up. I didn't. My fingers found a notepad I didn't know I had, writing letters like I'd learned to hold a pencil yesterday. 1. A woman's name. 2. Another. 3. A man with a middle initial like a fence. 4. I knew that one. 5. The one you don't want, only so many last names in a life. 6. And 7. Blank. It held the 7th open like a chair for a late guest. Case numbers, the voice said, polite again. That's your part. I swallowed. The CAD search box waited like a mouth. Muscle memory of 1,000 forms woke in my hands like a crime. I typed, and the system gave like a stubborn drawer finally sliding. 1996 06H13472. 2001 MP44. 2010 FR0219. The city keeps its dead like libraries do. Say them, the voice said. When we start, I said, never give a banquet to a hunger that only gets hungrier. We'll start when I say. Before sunrise, it said, the only promise it keeps. The clocks moved to 3:16 like a throat after a sip of water. The rain softened. I heard a truck somewhere. Downshift, upshift, the long sigh of machinery after a night. The vents coughed one last mouthful of electrical stink and settled. I checked Sil 08 again. Habit is religion here. My finger hovered. The plastic was warm. The little red watchdog next to Sil 08, the one that mutes a cluster when someone flips wrong, flashed once, a test pulse to prove the bulb still lived. Did you see? I started. Maritza's hand was already there, palm open over the switch without touching. The red eye winked, one polite blink, and cooled. My ears wine-braided with the room's low hum, and for a second it almost made a chord we might have meant to make. It's listening, she said. It always is, I said, and got ready to read the first name. I didn't start with a prayer. I started with breath and plastic. I thumbed the tone key to wake the board the way you tap a sleeping dog before you step over it. The room answered with its hum. The edge of the rule card pebbled my wrist like cheap braille. Names, numbers, tone. Keep it procedural or the room will turn you into a poet and eat you. Ready, I said. My voice sounded borrowed from someone tidier. Red, Maritza said, palm hovering over sill 08 like a lid on a pot. I cleared my throat. It tasted like coffee, left too long in pennies. 1. Paper rasped under my fingers. Marisol Peña, case number 2010 FR 0219. The room loosened. On CAD, a tiny amber hangnail clicked clear off a corner building. My tinnitus gave a bright sting, then backed off a hair. On the FFT, a polite notch opened at 2.7 kilohertz, like a mouth deciding not to speak. I closed with a clean post-act chime, -12 dBFS, not patch K, just a period. The VU bars jumped and settled. 2, I said. Deshaun L. Carter, case number 2001 MP44. I took care with the L, some letters are mother's wishes. Another burr disappeared off the map. A ghost pre-alert under Hollins winked out. The thin A in my ear threaded with the room's lower hum, almost musical if you like bad music. Keep your pace, Maritza said. Don't let it make you good at this. I'm not. You are, she said. That's the problem. 3. I swallowed. Ria Santos, case number 1996-06H13472. Everything leaned toward that one. Tape flirted a deeper amber and thought better of it. The VU jitter steadied. My left ear warmed under the cup like a hand. The banner ticked a nuisance clear, a bogus ping died quiet. Tone, period. Wind pressed rain against the glass in one long sigh. The vents coughed hot plastic. 4, I said. Benjamin M. Rhodes, case number 2004 UNK 187. The ledger liked that shape. Somewhere in harbor a bad ETA shaped 021. The overlay tint blinked, thought about climbing back over the map, stayed in its lane. The rune paid attention the way dogs do when you stand up too fast. On cue, line 12 lifted. No ring, just presence. Stay with the names, Maritza said. It wants you divided. I'm already divided, I said, and heard my mother in the space between the words. 5. The pen hesitated. A. Kelly, case number 1999 FL 017. The FFT notch tightened and caught light. The little green actuals pulsed in sympathy, board acknowledgments, not certificates of truth. The call queue swallowed one loop of hang-up, redial that had been nipping at my ankles. 6. The nib skidded. Hector D. Nguyen, case number 2013 MPR 992. A comb of static tried the left cup. On the edge pane, the ANI delay ticked 127 milliseconds on a side thread. A placeholder call ID flashed that shy XYX tail. 10 was tacking up storm flags. It's gonna ask for the 7th, Maritza said. Her thumb found the edge of her jaw tape, pinch smooth. It always does. 7's blank, I said. It left a chair. It leaves a chair, she said, not a guest. Line 12 spoke with its careful politeness. No hiss, no ring, just a dry mouth-forming sound. Read the last one, it said. You know it. The notch at 2.7 kilohertz smiled thin. Rule number 2, I told my lungs. If the caller says your name, read the phrase. Maritza finished, eyes pinned to sill 08. I didn't give it the satisfaction. Dispatch cannot confirm identity. Silence stretched. Then it reframed. New vowels, thinner cheeks, younger teeth. Delay 127 milliseconds, YX. Notch present. My ear recognized it before my head did. No, it said, tasting me like a candy. Dispatch cannot. It changed tactics. Say Amanda, it asked, and dropped the last name I didn't want to hear, Salazar. The pen left a dark dot where it bled. My throat shut, silver freckled the edge of my vision. On the VU, both bars froze at -6 dBFS, then trembled. Sill 08's red eye winked once. Please. Copy, I told myself. Keep it procedural. Say her name, the voice said. My mother's harmonic flossed through it. Close us. It's what you want. What I want is smaller wants. I set both hands on the desk so I wouldn't do something pretty. We do not read without a case number, I said. You want that 7th chair filled? Bring me a number. A pause. It doesn't like being the applicant. 1996-06H13472, it said, sweet as a lie. That's hers. I'd already read that one, too tidy. No. It got petulant. Line 12 brightened and opened its mouth. Dispatch, it purred, dragging every vowel like taffy to stretch the count toward the cliff. We do not let it over. Sill 08 lit steady red. The view planked flat. A tiny timer box ticked 8.0 seconds. Watchdog live. Harbor West went dead. No fire, no police, no EMS. East kept chattering, oblivious. Silence wasn't nothing. It pushed. I heard Belt whisper, a drip, my own heartbeat in the headset. Fix it, Maritza said, command wrapped in rasp. Her thumb hovered over Sill 08 but didn't press. This was mine. My hands knew the sequence better than my fear. Step 1. Present -12 dBFS aux tone into the supervisor bus. Step 2. Ride it to 7.9 seconds. Step 3. Drop tone and flip Sill 08 in the same breath. House resyncs. Cluster breathes. On the FFT, a ridge slid under a stuck door. The little timer read 6.2, 6.8, 7.5. My ears wire A turned from needle to cable. I felt every capacitance in this building in my teeth. At 7.9, my thumb came off the tone and down on Sill 08 in the same breath. Hinge move, the dance step Maritza made me drill with a metronome at 60 until I hated it. The red LED went dark like a lid closing. The VU bars popped up, alive. Harbor West gasped. A unit key clicked twice, like remembering hello. Shh. Cluster restored, I said, swallowing paper mouth. Harbor West hot. Copy, Maritza said, something fragile in her gravel making a home in me. Her right hand on the console, her left slipped to her neck and pressed 2 fingers under the tape like telling it a secret. It almost got it, I said, because you don't say it almost got me if you plan to sit here tomorrow. It will again, she said. That's the play. Stretch vowels, make you greedy for context, make you merciful. I tried to laugh, coughed instead. I'm not merciful. You are, she said. That's the problem. East asked for backup on a noise complaint. Harbor West returned to math and courage at wet midnight. The supervisor bus flickered, listen, 1, 2, and settled to idle like a big animal rolling to show you its stomach. Why 8? I asked, rolling my cuff back to watch a needle I don't trust. Why not 10? Watchdog buffer, she said, thumb tapping the amp under the tape. 8,000 milliseconds on the PBX node. Flush the jitter, resync to stratum 1. The way it was after Isabel. She didn't say Isabel like a name, she said it like weather. A tendon hopped under the tape. The tape followed like good skin. You were here, I said, dumb as rain. I'm still here, she said. What happened? Triple fault. She tapped it off on her fingers. 217 drift not cleared. Engine 17 got entertained. Somebody, not me, let the archive run 13.0 seconds. Her mouth twitched on 13 like the number learned to bite. Citywide. We could hear each other's mouths on the headsets. I tasted phantom quiet, dry tongue coming off the roof of a mouth. A terrible intimacy. How'd you get it back? My partner had hands like a metronome, she said, lifting her left hand a little. The strip of tape shone like a pale seam. I had voice. We traded. I held the line. She did the count. We put the city back in the room. What happened to her? She left, she said, smile doing something rude and gentle at once. Smart woman. We sat with that. Rack hum, HVAC breath, the tick that isn't a clock but your body being a container. Read 6 again, Maritza said. Put Hector in twice. It likes to see if you'll resist making it neat. I did. I said his name a second time, the case number again, the tone again. The ledger took it and didn't fight. The map held. My ear sang its thin partner harmony and didn't swell. Now 7, she said, hand leaving the tape. A faint adhesive shine clung to her thumb. Not what it wants, what we have. I don't have a 7th. The line on my notepad stayed a little canyon. It left it for a It left it to take, she said. Fill it with living business. The ledger hates living business. It can't digest it. That's the trick. I flipped a CAD filter like a stairlight. Open MP, Harbor West, status H, names unspooled, the city's always waiting. I picked one so ordinary it felt like a spell. 7, I said. Tanya Ruiz, case number 2023 MP332. The room jerked like a stifled sneeze. The FFT notch wobbled and refound itself. The supervisor bus pulsed. Listen. 1, 2, and settled. On the map, a nagging welfare check loop over Pigtown's side and cleared. Good, Maritza said, and it wasn't praise. It was inventory. Line 12 cleared its throat. You made it ugly, it said, irritated. You always make it ugly. Ugly keeps people alive, I said. Pretty gets them killed. Say Amanda, it tried again. Small as a hand under a door. Finish it so we can rest. Phrase 9, I read, for me, not it. Dispatch cannot confirm identity. The vents exhaled dust and regret. My ear rang bright, then leveled. Sill 08 stayed dark. Harbor West kept talking. East kept telling jokes to itself. The clock gave me 3:27 like a benediction nobody meant. Rain thinned. Something outside hit a puddle. Sound spread across the pane. Medic 12 called on scene and my heart did its arithmetic and did not stop. 2 down, Maritza said. 5 to go. I wiped my palm on my jeans. The pocket edge scratched. The headset pinched and I didn't care. Okay, I said. Okay. The supervisor bus watched like a dog that knows your hands before you move. I raised the notepad and the pen. The next name knelt in my head like a runner at the line. The thin A in my ear tuned half a cent sharp, in warning, in blessing, in whatever passes for mercy in a room half wire, half memory, and 2/3 hunger. 3, I said. Next. The supervisor bus settled on listen and held, a dog you could trust if he didn't move too fast. The little green ACK jewels blinked a lazy round. Board acknowledgements, not certificates of truth. Rack heat pressed my calves. The headset's rubber made 2 damp rings. My tinnitus tuned a half-cent sharp like a fork hovering over crystal. 3, I said, pen up like a conductor. Nadia Serrano, case number 2007 MP311. Number first, then a neat post-act chime at -12 dBFS. The VU bars hopped and settled. On CAD, an amber ghost queue under Fayette went dim the way a habit goes when you stop feeding it. The overlay tint that had been eyeing Harbor West backed off an inch. The bright A in my ear flashed silver at the edges of my vision, then eased. I tasted hot plastic and the beginning of rain. 4, I said. Ivor James. Case number 1998 HW0204. The FFT did its favorite trick, a clean notch through 2.7 kilohertz like scissors through a photograph. A wrong pre-alert flicker on a West Talk group burned out. Medic 12 shaved 019 like a barber. The scanner tossed me a palate cleanser. Signal 13 in Northern, nothing we owned. Circulation returning to a limb. I swallowed. The inside seam of the headset itched. My throat worked like it was learning a new letter. 5. The pen hovered over a small canyon. Keisha Pollard. Case number 2016 FR090. The room liked that shape in my mouth. Harbor West exhaled a double-click clear, nuisance flag, stale route, gone. The ACK lights nodded in sequence. My ears A spiked and steadied. I felt the addiction lock. Not joy, not relief, control. A part of me wanted to read names forever, if that's what it took to make the wall behave. It wants you to like the part where you fix it, Maritza said, eyes on Seal 08. That's where it keeps you. I can feel my head getting big, I said, and heard the rasp where I'd chewed the boom foam. I rotated the mic so I wouldn't bite the same crescent again. 6, I said. Devon R. Miles, case number 2003 MPR 772. The supervisor bus brightened, listened for a beat like a dog's ears at walk. The ANIA pane twitched a number I hate, 127 milliseconds on a side thread. And a placeholder call ID flashed the shy XYX tail. 10 pressed its nose to the glass. Stay with the names, Maritza said. There's enough dog for both of us. I tapped the tone. The notch sharpened. The delay slid back to normal like a hand retreating from a cookie jar. Mugginess climbed my neck and sat in the notch at my throat. Ozone through dust through plastic, the building's breath, layered. 7, I said, and my hand remembered the empty line I'd left earlier, like a missed step on a familiar staircase. Tanya Ruiz. Case number 2023 MP332. The wall jerked, like a stifled sneeze. A circular welfare check loop in Pigtown, rabbit chasing for 40 minutes, stopped like someone remembered they had a doorbell. Harbor West kept its feet. East ran its own comedy. The supervisor bus held listen, calm as a lifeguard. The A in my ear sang steady, less proud. Tone, I said, and gave the clean period. For a breath, the room flirted with stillness. Not quiet. I could hear the HVAC belt whisper, the toy piano drip, a chair squeal 2 consoles over. But the pressure changed, the way weather does when it finally makes a decision about you. 3 to 7, Maritza said, thumb brushing the edge of her jaw tape. Adhesive caught and released a small sigh. Keep going. 8, I asked, half joke, half superstition. Numbers like it, when you pretend they're people. She did not smile. We made a place for 7. We keep to 7. That's the bargain, if you like your job. I let air move, listen to the ring do its measuring tape circuit. Out to shoulders, down ribs, back. I set the pen down. The tremor in my hand wasn't cute. The supervisor bus waited, head cocked. Okay, I told it in me. That's the 7 we have. Now us, line 12 said, and didn't ring. It announced itself, a pupil dilating. The 2.7 kilohertz notch opened on the FFT like a smile with too many teeth. I didn't need the ANI pane to know it would try for 0 milliseconds and blank checksum's next pass. I knew its hands. Dispatch, the voice said, pleasant as a stranger at a grocery divider. We have a name for you. Maritza didn't breathe, or she hid it. We do not read without a case number, I said. Mouth a law firm when I'm scared. Name plus case. Finish with tone. It's a special, the voice said, and the notch smiled wider. Doesn't need a number. Everything needs a number, I said, tasting the city's ink like a bad communion. Amanda, it said, and the sound had the clean of cut fruit. You could grow up inside it and not know it was killing you. Light in my head went too bright, the white-silver bloom of tinnitus when it wants to narrate. The VU bars hung at -6, shivering. Sil 08 blinked once like a wink. Phrase 9, I heard myself say from a step behind. Dispatch cannot confirm identity. Don't, it said, and it wasn't my mother, and it was. The harmonic braided through like floss, smoothing edges. Baby, don't do that. My thumb drifted toward patch K, dumb comfort. There was no hiss to crush. 440 Hz only wins when there's hiss. This wasn't radio noise, this was the room leaning in. You did 7, it said, teacher clean. Now do ours, say the special name. Give me the case, paper dry. No case, no read. Amanda Salazar, it sang, wrong in its rightness. Case, it stretched the vowel over a warm engine. None. On the wall, Harbor West twitched, respectful. Sup bus flickered. Listen, open, listen. A dog uncertain if this was fetch or fight. A test. Citywide italicized itself on a West box. Rubber warmed in the vents, belts waking in machines that shouldn't. It's pulling pre-alert, Maritza said, all throat. Read anything else. Fill it with junk. Do not leave it air. I grabbed any live missing. Ramon Ortiz, case number 2024 MP005. Tone. The bus took the chime and shrugged. The overlay didn't clear. 10 smiled without a face. Cute, it said. Now say her. The ANI delay held 127 milliseconds, a metronome for a song I refuse. The A in my ear wound tighter, wire about to sing or snap. Dispatch cannot confirm identity, I said again, laying each word like brick. We require case numbers. Then we'll make more cases, it said, cool now. Pre-alerts for 4 clusters. We can blow your city open or we can let it sleep. Say Amanda and we'll be merciful. CAD printed ready in a corner of East. You only see if your cheek's against the glass. North burped a test I didn't authorize. Harbor West held, listen, ears up, hackles too. The bus pulsed like a vein. Don't, Maritza said, meaning, don't be a person, be a board. Be the part that digs holes and runs cable and doesn't cry in them. The voice came close, not loud, just near. Say her, Noah. My tinnitus went white, not tone but gap. Heat pulled out of my teeth. Salt found my mouth. I took my thumbs off everything sharp, flattened both hands on the desk. We do not read without case number, I said. We do not feed specials. We do not let the room choose the seventh name. The acro watched. You are already ours, it said, almost kind. You're making a show of ethics so you can pretend you were chosen for something other than your voice print. That too, I said. Phrase 9. Say Amanda, it said again, no adornment, my mother writing under it like a promise I won't keep. I looked at the future the sup bus was drawing. Pre-alert, AMS 4. A hush, a stupid chorus of red squares. The room already had the smell of it. Storm an hour out. Case number, I said, the only hill I own. Or we stop. Then we stop, it said, and listen went steady green, a deep breath before a bad idea. Maritza's eyes slid to mine for the first time in too many minutes. Pinpoint fluorescent sat in her pupils. No more rules to give. We were at the edge of the card. I saw the typo, identity, the extra N like a nail not hammered flush. Don't go poetic, she said, low. Hold your lane. I know my lane, I said, and the voice laughed, small and satisfied because it thought I meant Amanda. I meant refusal. The supervisor bus leaned toward open in one greedy blink. Noah, it said, leaving the rest for me to finish if I wanted to be a different kind of thing. I breathed shallow, ozone, burnt coffee, sticker glue, wet brick. I set my thumb above patch K and left it hovering, a threat with no teeth. We do not read without case number, I told the hunger. We do not confirm identity. The ACK lights blinked in order. Left to right, 3 slow greens, like heads turning to watch a bar fight. Then we make a case, it said, and the room shifted like a big dog choosing between play and bite. 4 clusters. We'll show you how many names you can't pronounce while they're burning. Wire A wound tight enough to sing. Sweat salted the foam. My mouth went paper. Pick your city, it said. Or say Amanda and I'll give you sleep. 333 stared from the corner. Useless comfort. I rolled my shoulders, something small cracked, pettily pleasing. No case, no read, I said. Line in the sand. Sup bus smiled by and by turning open all the way. East flickered ready. North cracked its knuckles. Harbor West stepped back and squared. Then let's play, the voice whispered, with my mother braided under it like a bedtime lie. I lifted my hands off the board so I wouldn't make a beautiful mistake. The seconds stretched like taffy. Every LED felt like an eye. And then nothing. No hiss, no hum. Just my heart kicking the inside of my ribs like a kid in the back seat asking if we're there yet. That made 7. Even with Tanya counted once where the ledger wanted neatness twice. Orphaned pre-alerts folded and cleared. It didn't come like thunder. It came like a spreadsheet turning carnivorous. The supervisor bus stayed on open, and CAD wrote a gentle memo. Pre-alert seed, east, north, harbor, west. Italics, polite, treasonous. 4 test tags blossomed where they shouldn't talk to each other. Moravia Road, Hampton, a block off Holland's Market. The seam by Patterson Park. The overlay tint didn't slam red. It brushed each square with old varnish. A thumb on a bruise. It dropped the tells, I said. No 127 milliseconds. No XYX. Just the thinner smile at 2.7 kilohertz if you knew where to squint. After that, the last tell left would be the anchor move. My exact name. 4 clusters, the voice said, pleased with its multiplication. My mother's harmonic braided under it like ribbon. Say the name, or watch your city get very busy and very late. Rack heat rolled. The headset pads went from damp to tack. The bright A in my ear tightened into a metronome. Tick, tick, tick. Pattern, Maritza said, lids half lowered. Find the tells. I slid the Annie pane wide. Ugly up close. Numbers raw edges, telecom sausage. All 4 seeds red. Delay 0 milliseconds. Too neat and blank checksums. Only the FFT kept its thin curve. 2.7 kilohertz missing like a flat smile. 10 had shaved off vanity. It wanted to be us. Left to right, I said, then caught myself. East first. Good, she said. East is the one that will make you cry loudest. East tried to inflate structure, ghosted up in gray italics, pointing at a house that burned in 2002 and a box we don't run. Delay 0 milliseconds. Blank checksum. No hiss to crush, no patch K here, no sil 08 to justify. So I did the ugliest thing the room respects, I read. Harbor Northeast, disregard italic pre-alerts, I said, narrow and boring. Unverified ID, shallow 2.7 kilohertz notch only. A neat post-act chime at -12 dBFS. A period, not a sermon. Cute, the voice said. Say Amanda and watch italics resolve to bold. Phrase 9, I reminded myself. Dispatch cannot confirm identity. North took a shot. Vehicle into structure, 1 digit off, italic. Delay 0 milliseconds, blank checksum. The notch grinning thin. I copied the move. Disregard, shallow 2.7 kilohertz only. Tone. Period. The italic dimmed. 10 laughed softly and sprayed kitchen reverb behind its vowels. Refrigerator hum, backdoor hinge, the scratch of a pen on the little pad I grew up watching. It put her in the air like perfume. Say Amanda, it whispered. She hated untidy ledgers. Phrase 9, I said at prayer volume. Brick by brick. The bus dropped. Listen, open, listen. A heartbeat off. The bright A ticked faster, double beats now. North again, Maritza said. It will try the echo. It did. Same line, new number. I read the refusal again, toned it, stayed boring. The italic thinned and went. East tried a medical at Monument. Gentle bait. Delay 0 milliseconds. Blank. Smile at 2.7. I read the refusal, toned it, watched the ghost bleed out. Rhythm like a fence under my fingertips. Ugly, reliable. You love this, it said, not accusing. Being necessary. Naming the pattern faster than it can pretend to be real. Say Amanda and I'll let you keep that and sleep. I like procedures, I said. You can't bribe me with the thing that keeps me from becoming you. Then a threat, it said. I can keep delay 0 milliseconds, keep checksums blank, no tells. You won't know which ones are yours until your people are knocking at history's door. That landed. 10 could evolve. The lousy mercy of 127 and XYX could vanish. The laminate ridge under my wrist. Identity with the spare N caught skin. I chose my hill. Then you'll do it, I said. You'll get better whether I say yes or no, so no. It didn't sigh, it moved. All 4 clusters lit pre-alert together. Bold, not italics. Delay 0 milliseconds. Clean checksums. The notch still smiled shallower. 4 flavors at once. Structure, water, vehicle, medical. Now, it said, sweet again. Say Amanda and I'll put the delay back. I'll wear my old costume and let you win. I did what scares me more than any button. Nothing. Hands off the board, palms on my knees to feel denim seam, even breath. The bright A turned into a countdown I could not hear. 4, 3, 2. Hold, Maritza said, not moving. The glue at her jaw corner went cloudy. She pressed it flat. Small kindness to a seam. Harbor, I said, because bold is still code. Confirming ANA-ally on all pre-alerts. Units hold, pending second source. Dispatch. A real medic keyed up. Wet gear in the mic. Tired. You got the whole city blinking. What are we doing? We're not chasing ghosts, I said. Hold 1. Confirm 2. Move on 3. On the board, the bold wobble began. Without 127, my leverage was time and tone. I fed 1, 2, 3 neat -12 dBFS periods into the bus. The VU bars hopped and settled. North's bold softened to italics, then to ghost. East clung a second longer, kids in kitchens, but followed. Harbor held last, sulky. Say Amanda, the voice said smaller, the way liars grow larger. We'll fix your ledger, we'll put your warehouse back. My body did 0.3 seconds of belief. I pictured a third-floor laundry on Lauren's, hot walls, my mother telling a stranger stay on the line. I pictured Engine 17 wearing a dead coat and walking. Phrase 9. I told the part of me that wants pretty. Dispatch cannot confirm identity. No case, no read. When I didn't bite, the costume went back on. Delays crept to 127 miss. Checksums found their shy Y. The 2.7 kilohertz notch grinned thin. The bus breathed. Harbor's bold thinned, shrugged, downgraded to monitor. The ANI pane obediently restored the watermark like a kid promising smaller lies. You'll regret this, the voice said, airy, conversational. You'll sit still and listen to your mother call again. You will be so professional. Say Amanda now, and at least you'll sleep. Last 341 in the corner. The bright A eased a half cent down, like slackened wire. The ACK jewels rippled left to right and back, a bored stretch. The HVAC exhaled ozone and old coffee. I breathed it because that's on the menu. No case, no read, I said again, the least poetic man alive. On the wall, the warehouse at Edmondson, Stricker did what warehouses do, burned like an apology nobody would accept. Medic 12 called transport, voice tired enough to make me feel every bone. We didn't lose them. Not tonight. The debt stayed a number instead of a eulogy. 10 didn't vanish. It flattened under the floor and watched through the cracks like a child with a coin. Next time it murmured, soft around my name without daring to say it. The ANI flavored the background with a few 127 ms delays like watermarks. The FFT smiled its thin line and waited. Maritza didn't move for a breath. Then she rolled 1 inch closer, elbow almost touching mine. Contact adjacent. You feel the clock? She asked. Yeah, I said. It'll invent another. She thumbed the tape's edge, peeled 2 millimeters, pressed it back. Her voice broke and found itself. You'll stop trying to win. You'll start trying to last. I thought I was already doing that. You were trying to be good, she said, not unkind. Different sport. The supervisor bus backed down to idle like a big animal settling on its paws. Harbor West steadied. East made a joke and someone laughed live. The notepad stuck to my palm with sweat. Where I'd hesitated over Amanda, the pen had bled a small dot. It looked like what it was. Next, I said, because saying next is how I keep my blood inside. Next, the room agreed, and line 12, patient as a static heart, didn't ring. It just was. The decision settled like a coin in a slot. I would not say a name without a number. If it wanted the last card, it would have to use the only tell left, anchor. Get ready, Maritza said, soft enough to miss if you weren't in the same weather. For what? For what comes after temptation, she said. Neo. The word tasted like a dry battery. I placed both hands gentle on the console and let the bright A tune down into a silence too intentional to be nothing. The bus watched me with that cocked head dogs have when they're ready to run or sit forever, whichever you ask. I closed my eyes for 1 inhale and saw identity, the extra N, like a nail you'll always catch your sleeve on. I promised myself I'd keep catching. Come on, I told the room, not brave, not calm, say it. I was already composing the silence I'd give back. It didn't say it with ceremony, it said it like the first sip of water after bad salt. Noah, a clean syllable, no hiss to crush. Delay. 0 milliseconds. Checksum blank. The 2.7 kilohertz smile flattened like a bedspread, smoothed before you lie down and don't get up. The bright A in my ear, the faithful wire I'd been tuning to all night, went out. Not down. Out. There's a point in long pain where the ache stops and you miss it because it kept you company. The absence was a new temperature. Room after the refrigerator dies. My blood sounded loud. Noah, it said again, patient as a teacher who knows the part you always get wrong. Everything in me got on its knees. The supervisor bus held open, head cocked, the acro stilled. On the map, the overlay hovered like someone's held breath. Maritza didn't touch me. She lifted her left hand 1/2 inch and froze it there, a metronome you might dream, thumb resting at the seam of the tape under her jaw. That was all. Noah, the room said a 3rd time, and braided my mother under it just to show me it could. Not imitation, A hair-thin harmonic that made the vowel sit the way she used to when she was pleased and telling me not to be good. To be careful. My tongue wanted to answer to stop the inside scratch. I set it behind my teeth and let it sting. Both hands open on the console, palms like a diver just before the surface closes. Rule I hadn't read yet lived under my skin anyway. If anchor addresses you by exact name, do not respond. End call with tone. I let the syllable fall through and didn't reach. Noah. Mouth closed. Breath did math. 4 in, hold 2, 4 out. Numbers small enough to lift without grunting. The bus made its choice. Open softened, like a big animal lying down, because now is when it lies down. One green ack popped, skin bubble, then held. Then the next. Ack, not applause. Exhale. On CAD, the bruise veil let go in neat rectangles like tape peeled off the floor after the dance. Harbor West shook itself. North quit pretending. East refused a second dessert. Seeds that were waiting decided not to sprout. On ANI, 0 MS rolled back to 127 MS like a tide with manners. The checksum wrote its shy Y back in. The FFT rehung its thin grin at 2.7 kilohertz where I could hate it again. It tried my name a 4th time. Lighter now, weight removed, like a box easier after you decide how you'll hurt. Tilted up at the end, a question mark, an invitation to put a period after myself. I gave it nothing. The tinnitus didn't return, not yet. The lack let smaller noises show. HVAC pan dripped to metal, the hair-thin scratch of Maritza's nail at the tape edge, the building's ribs flexing when the wind leaned in. The city gets quieter when you don't give it your name. That's better. Kind ghosts make you sloppy. A new line scrolled at the top. Audit, rule card updated, Rev 9. I glanced at the laminate under my wrist. Courier, typewriter bruises. Under the last line, a fresh one had grown like a nail. 9. If anchor addresses you by exact name, do not respond. End call with tone. Above it, identity still wore the extra N circled. Intent over perfection. Look at you, 10 said, pretending affection. Following rules like a man who believes in ends. I kept my mouth closed and rolled the pen under my fingers to keep the blood moving. The headset rubber stopped being a vice and started being a hat I still hated. You want a hand, it said. They make the pot bigger for the next one. The bus slid back to listen with a dignity I envied. The map stopped labor breathing and went back to diaphragmatic boredom. There are depths to this work. Tonight I was at waist height and river cold still got my stomach. Maritza let a breath out I could hear. She tapped her amp once, habit, and gentle as straightening a collar smoothed the tape flat. Her voice arrived with a seam you could love or die on. I picked love. You did nothing, she said, and made nothing sound like a craft. I didn't, I said, and the bright A rekindled as a pilot light. Blue, small, promising soup in trouble. I didn't flinch. It's what we boil water on. The Ledger tried to hire you, she said. That was the interview. I thought I already worked here. It keeps making offers. That was a better one. She flicked eyes at the rule card like a family Bible. Text and people at once. It wanted your voice on the bus. And if I'd said yes, you wouldn't have said yes. You'd have said your name back. Same thing. You'd be the filter it uses to taste what it wants out of calls. You'd say the right 10 code so units don't balk when they should. You'd be quietly famous in here. Her eyes didn't change. You'd never leave. You'd never be off. The room, to keep us humble, printed something small. Traffic stop. Routine. East. Real. Officer bored enough to say please. I handed 2 humans to each other through plastic and copper. No hiss, no notch. The exact size of the world you can carry without dying. When I cleared, 10 pressed its lips to the door seam and spoke through the weather strip. You can still say, Amanda. I can still do math, I said, which meant bills, Medicaid, my grandmother's pills lined in a tray like bright, angry birds. It laughed, warm, small, the way wolves in folklore laugh when they let the woodcutter think the story's over. We'll see you on tape. Across the board, all 3 acolytes stayed green like a certificate for breathing at the right time. The overlay peeled clean, leaving no residue except where my fingers would feel it next pass over the laminate. Harbor West kept its chatter unromantic. North made a pun. East asked for lunch relief in a tone that meant neither lunch nor relief would be what they wanted. I waited for my hands to stop shaking. Subtle, a shimmy in the pen, a wobble at the knuckles. I put the pen down. Objects don't deserve to be told what your body is doing. You're not out, Maritza said. Not mean, not kind, accurate. You just didn't sign the long contract. I nodded, which in here counts as joy. 357 tugged at my eyelids from the inside corners. My eyes found the door like a confession. The photo taped under my monitor. My grandmother on a stoop that wasn't ours. Plastic lawn chair, cheap sandals from Holland's Market. Toenails cherry bomb from a notary who does nails cash afternoons. Held fast. Every system has a ledger. The new line on the card waited to be memorized, and my mouth obliged the way it does with hymns I hate. If anchor addresses you by exact name, do not respond. End call with tone. I could feel the period like a brass button under my tongue. The room rehung its curtains the old way. I said to myself, 127 mm back, XYX tails stitched, 2.7 kilohertz notch where I could hate it. Good. Good enough, Maritza said. Go on, the room murmured, gentler than it knows how. Practice your silence. I didn't wait long. Line 12 lit its orange lens, no flourish, and rang. Old copper. The FFT stayed honest. Delay 0 milliseconds like a dare. The ACK greens did nothing. Greens aren't truth, they're house reflex. Truth arrives with units on view. I put the cup to my ear and heard a child's inhale. No harmonic, no kitchen, no tape, just small courage. Hello, the voice said, bright clean, making the words shine like a wet pebble. Can you read my name for me? The bus cocked its head. The pilot light A hummed faint. The card under my wrist lay like a trained animal that will bite on command. I set both hands so I wouldn't set them anywhere else, and listened for the number that makes a name safe to say. I let the silence be the answer I owed the last voice, then, because rule number 9 ends with an action, I gave the line a clean period at -12 dBFS, just enough tone to close without indulging. The VU bars rose, held, settled. The breath on the other end didn't flinch. Baltimore 911, I said, voice heavier than I am. We start with your number. The kid filled the line with nothing but breath. No hiss to crush, no mother harmonic to make me sloppy. Just a small inhale like a straw in milk. 0 mess. Checksum blank. FFT showed house noise, HVAC low, fluorescence fat, no smile, sitting at 2.7 kilohertz. Across the board, the 3 green ACK jewels stayed dark. Greens are house reflex, patch, bus axe, not truth. Truth is units on view. Hi there, I said, careful with my mouth like it was loaded. We use names with numbers here. Do you have a number? I have a name, the kid said, daylight clean. We do too, I said, eyes on my pains. Names plus case number. The name makes it personal. The number makes it safe. Can you read my name for me? The kid asked again. Polite the way children get when they're taught not to bother the people who keep the lights on. The supervisor buzz held listen, head cocked neutral. Rain had downgraded to wet. The window glass went flat silver like it wanted to show me my face. What's your location? I asked, still a dispatch center even when we're a church. Street sign, corner, a statue, anything you see. A beat, then the kind of map you dream. The park with the hill, you can see the water if you stand on the bench. Patterson Park. I could smell iron fence and wet grass if I let my head go. What's your name? I asked, and felt every rule turn to watch me. I won't read it out loud until I have your number, but you can tell me. I'll hold it with you. My number is 0, the kid said, delighted. They told me I could be first. Delay. 0 ms stayed smug. The pilot light A hummed small behind a wall. Maritza did the smallest visible thing, set one knuckle on my console like a ring you won't scratch. The adhesive under her jaw had gone cloudy at one corner. She watched the act row like an ant with good judgment. "You can tell me your name," I tried again, bread soft. "Then we'll make a number." The kid took a second lungful like counting practice and started to sound it, not spell. A-N-da. It landed like a small rock in my rib. "Thew?" I asked, hired to ask questions that have answers. "Are you safe where you are?" "Uh-huh." Shoes squeaked on wet cement, sneaker rubber, lake water. "A man with a dog. The dog's big. He says good morning to everybody like he knows them. Do you know my number yet?" The bus held listen. Dawn walked its color toward us, the map put on its honest face. "Okay," I said, "and there's a way you say okay that means I accept. 2 ways. You can hang up and ask the nearest person to call for you. That gives me a number. Or you can tell me what you see, and I'll send someone to you. That's a number we can make." "I see the hill," the kid said. "The water that looks like the good kind of metal. A lady running, pink jacket, her ponytail hits her like it doesn't like her. A bench with a dome on it." "Don't what?" "Don't feed the ducks. The ducks are mad about it." The laugh, clean, expensive in the best way. "Can you read my name now?" "I read names at hearings," I said, keeping my voice like fresh bread tearing. "We read names with case number and we end with a tone. That's how the city knows we meant it. If I read your name without a number, we both get drafted. You don't want this job." "Maybe I do," the kid said, and I believed it. "Children want the button." "Then come take my chair in 10 years, I said, softer than I'm usually allowed. "I'll leave it warm." The ANI line flicked, a petri dish twitch. Delay 02 memes 0. The checksum burped a shy Y and swallowed it. The bus rolled, listen, open, listen, interested, at last. "Tell me the letters," I said. "We won't say them out loud. We'll spell them together. When we're done, I'll put your name in a place that makes numbers. That's how we start." "A," the kid said. "M." The pilot light A warmed behind the wall. I wrote where names go to become real. It looked like her, and like the ledger, and like a promise I couldn't keep without becoming part of it. "N," the kid said. "D-A." "Got it," I said. "I won't read it, I'll hold it. Now, closest street sign, green with white letters, or a statue?" "The statue has a lion, he looks tired." That bought me a smile I didn't spend out loud. "Hold on, don't hang up." I opened an incident like a door someone says is safe, gentle, shoulder behind it. Call type, welfare check. Location, Patterson Park, near the pagoda. RP juvenile, voice clean, no hiss, 0 memes, no notch. Remarks, man with dog saying good morning. The system kept its vanity plate at 0 memes. The acro still refused to announce me. So I made my own light. "East, unit on view near the pagoda for a welfare check," I said. 2 bored affirmatives, then one voice that liked kids. Boots turned toward grass. "Hold one," I said to the little brave. "They're coming to wave. When they get there, you tell them your name and let them read it. Their numbers hang off their shirts." "Okay," the kid said. "Do you have a name?" I looked at the card under my wrist, at the extra N in identity like a tack. Names are hooks. Sometimes the only way not to be caught is to leave a little skin behind. "Here," I said, giving the only answer both true and aloud. "We're just dispatch." "Thank you, dispatch," the kid said, and meant it. I wanted to ruin a good console by sleeping on it like someone who hadn't signed a short contract with the city's memory. The line held. East put boots on wet concrete. Radios breathed in the room. The only act that matters arrived live. "I see you," an officer called. Mic close. "Hey kid, stay right there." "Do you see me?" the child asked in my ear. "I'm not there," I said, "and I am. Tell them your name. I'll turn it into a case number so we can close the circle." Feet in grass, the good morning of a big dog's handler. What big dogs are for. A laugh that costs nothing and buys something anyway. "I'm going to hang up," the kid said, breath steadier now, not because of me, but because sunlight lies the same to everyone. "Can you read my..." We end with tone, I said, and set a clean period at -12 dBFS, post-act chime, not a crush. The VU bars rose, held, settled. The bus took the tone and filed it in the new bone it's growing. The line cut, clean. No hiss, no goodbye, just open air where a voice had been and now belonged to the world. I let my hands come off the board. The map did what maps do when there's finally a number. A small, decent dot where hope happened, blue for once. East cleared with a half yawn and a joke that would have gotten them written up if anyone up top still had energy for jokes. The AC lights came up 1, 2, 3, for someone else's conversation that didn't need me. Maritza lifted her knuckle like a benediction. She stood like gravity was a private agreement. She didn't say good job. She didn't say you passed. She peeled the strip of tape from under her jaw with the science of a person who knows exactly which hair it will take. Skin beneath, a white seam, new and old at once. Go outside, she said. Touch the rail, smell the water, then come back and do your write-ups. Am I getting one? I asked, grinning wrong because we all need a joke we can afford. For being late, she said, deadpan. Then softer. You're on nights until the ledger forgets your face. It won't. We pretend. I stood, bones clanged like coat hangers. The room breathed behind me like a big animal. Mine to feed, not pet. I tucked the rule card back under my wrist and let identity catch my skin on the way, on purpose. The hallway smelled like rain trying to be steam. By the time I hit the door, the sky had decided to be day. Out on Patterson Park, the dumb pretty pagoda did its trick, and harbor air laid a damp hand on my mouth so I'd talk less. A truck radio down by Holland's Market complained about a pallet due last week and promised it was really on the way. Somebody said copy exact as law. I touched the rusted rail and let flakes print my palm. Iron tastes like new pennies in old mouths. I breathed the wet salt until my tongue went blind. When I came back, line 12 rang. No hiss. Delay, 0 miss. Act nothing. Baltimore 911, I said, voice heavier than me. What's your emergency? A young voice, clean as a promise, filled the cup. Not a child this time, school age, brave enough to call, not brave enough to pretend. Hi, can you read my name for me? The pilot light. I hummed steady. The card under my wrist waited like a trained animal that will bite when told. The supervisor bus watched with the patience of something that has all the time in the world and is only here to see what I'll do with mine. I can help you, I said. Start by telling me your number. The ledger, which is not a ghost and not a god, made a small sound like a page turning under the floor. The city exhaled around us. I held the line. I listened for the digit that makes a name safe to say. And because the work doesn't end, and because the room's hunger looks like love when you squint, and because I am already half anchor whether I answer or not, I stayed. Hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell to join Dr. Noctis. The fear has only just begun.